library.
You might not realize this yet, but perfection is one of the most expensive addictions in the world. It doesn't cost money. It costs opportunities. It costs courage. It costs years. Smart people lose the most, not because they lack talent, but because they keep waiting until their talent looks perfect before they use it. That is the invisible trap. Chapter 1. The illusion of the perfect moment. You've probably been taught that your intelligence should protect you from mistakes, that if you think enough, plan enough, prepare enough, you can avoid failure. So you wait. You wait for the perfect timing, the perfect mood, the perfect idea, the perfect confidence. But here's the truth that burns a little. Perfection doesn't protect you, it paralyzes you. Think about it. How many ideas have you abandoned because they didn't look flawless yet? How many times have you rewritten messages, redone work, erased drafts, restarted goals, or held back from trying because you weren't ready? How many times have you watched someone less skilled than you get results you could have reached months ago? That's the trap. Perfection loves intelligent minds because they're good at overthinking, analyzing, and predicting problems that haven't happened yet. It feels like wisdom. It feels responsible, but it's fear wearing a suit. Fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it speaks politely. Sometimes it says, let's think a little more. Sometimes it says, be prepared before you start. Sometimes it says, don't embarrass yourself, wait until it's better. That voice doesn't sound like fear. It sounds like being smart. But it's not intelligence. It's hesitation disguised as caution. Perfection makes you believe that preparation is progress. It tricks you into thinking that thinking is doing. But thinking alone builds nothing. Imagine two people. One takes messy action. They try, fail, adjust, try again. The other is talented, thoughtful, strategic, and waiting for clarity before acting. After 6 months, who has experience? Who has data? Who has feedback? Who has momentum? Not the thinker, the doer. The thinker is still polishing ideas. The doer is learning from reality. You might say, but I don't want to waste time doing it wrong. Here's the paradox. Doing it wrong is the fastest way to learn how to do it right. The path to excellence is messy at first. Think about money. An investor doesn't wait for a guaranteed perfect investment. They take calculated steps. They test. They diversify. They take risks guided by learning. If they only acted when everything was 100% certain, they would never invest at all. The same rule applies to your ideas, your career, your skills, your relationships, your ambitions. Progress is investment. It's not certainty. It's not perfection. It's movement. Let me give you a real example. There was a young software developer, talented, disciplined, full of ideas. He spent years planning the perfect app. He studied markets, took notes, redesigned the concept over and over, improved the design, read books on product launches. Meanwhile, another developer launched a simple version of a similar idea. It was full of bugs. It looked basic. It failed at first. But he listened to users, improved it weekly, and kept iterating. 2 years later, he sold the company for millions. The perfectionist? Still planning. When he finally launched, the market had moved. His idea was no longer new. He wasn't early. He was invisible. That's what perfection costs. You don't lose because you're not good enough. You lose because you enter the game late, sometimes when the game is already over. Now let's make it personal. What decision have you been postponing because it doesn't feel perfect yet? What project sits in a folder waiting to be better? What dream did you freeze because you're scared of being seen before it looks impressive? Be honest. Intelligent people don't fail from lack of ability. They fail from delayed action. Life doesn't reward what you know. It rewards what you apply. Let's push deeper. Perfectionism is not a standard. It's self-protection. It's trying to avoid judgment, rejection, or embarrassment by delaying your progress until you feel invincible. You want control. You want safety. You don't want to look foolish. You don't want to start small. You don't want to be seen struggling. But everyone who ever achieved something big once looked like a beginner. The millionaire who invests confidently once felt confused. The leader who speaks clearly once stuttered through their thoughts. The confident athlete once had shaky muscles and poor form. The entrepreneur who looks bold today once doubted every step. You don't get to the top by hiding at the bottom until you feel flawless. You climb imperfectly. You learn while being seen. You grow where you feel exposed. That discomfort is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're transforming. Now ask yourself something powerful. If perfectionism hasn't protected you, why are you still loyal to it? You don't need perfection to earn respect. You need presence. You don't need to be flawless to be trusted. You need consistency. You don't need to know everything to start. You need willingness. There is a quiet confidence in people who move, even when they're not ready. They don't wait for certainty. They build it. They don't chase the perfect moment. They create results in imperfect conditions. They don't hide behind potential. They turn potential into reality. That's what intelligent people must learn. Excellence doesn't come from perfect first steps. It comes from repeated imperfect steps refined over time. So here's your challenge. Stop asking, how do I make this perfect? Start asking, what is the next small action I can take today? Just one action. Email someone, record something, write one page, test one idea, share one version, do something tiny but real. Because once you begin, fear loses power, perfection loses control, and momentum becomes your new intelligence. In the next chapter, we'll explore why perfection is deeply emotional, not logical, and how to change the beliefs that keep you stuck in planning mode instead of creation. But for now, remember this. Perfection is not your standard. It's your cage. Start moving, even if your steps look small. You don't need a perfect life. You need a progressing one.
Chapter 2. The Fear Behind Smart Perfectionism. Most people believe perfectionism is about high standards. That's the lie. Perfectionism is emotional self-defense. It doesn't come from wanting excellence. It comes from avoiding pain. Ask yourself, what do you fear more? Doing something wrong or being judged for it? Most intelligent people don't avoid action because they can't do it. They avoid action because they don't want to be visible while learning. They want success without the phase of looking inexperienced. They want results without the risk of embarrassment. They want applause without the possibility of criticism. That's not ambition. That's insecurity dressed up as high standards. Let's go deeper. When you refuse to start until you feel ready, you're not protecting your standards, you're protecting your ego. Perfectionism isn't about doing things better, it's about avoiding the feeling of being imperfect. And the more intelligent you are, the more creative your excuses become. You don't say, I'm scared, you say, I need to think more. You don't say, I don't want to look weak, you say, I want it to be high quality. You don't say, I'm afraid it won't work, you say, I don't want to waste time. Your brain upgrades fear into rational language so you won't notice you're avoiding life. You call it preparation, but psychologically, it's protection. This is why perfectionism is emotional. You're not polishing the work, you're protecting your identity. You want the world to think you're capable, smart, talented. But here's the paradox. The longer you wait to show your work, the more pressure you create when you finally do. Every month you delay, the idea becomes heavier. Every year you wait, the standard becomes unrealistic. You build something in your mind so perfect, the real world could never match it. And then the fear grows, not because you're not ready, but because your imagination created a standard that reality can't deliver. So you stay stuck, not because you're incapable, but because you fear emotional discomfort. Let me show you something important. There are 3 fears hidden under perfectionism: fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of exposure. Judgment says, what if they don't like it? Failure says, what if I never succeed? Exposure says, what if they see I'm not as impressive as they think I am? Exposure is the strongest. Smart perfectionists don't want to look confused, messy, or uncertain. They don't want people to witness the early stages. They want to appear fully formed. But growth doesn't happen quietly. Real progress is public, visible, and sometimes embarrassing. Look at social relations. Some people avoid dating unless they feel confident enough. They don't fear loneliness. They fear being seen as awkward, vulnerable, or inexperienced. In careers, many intelligent employees don't take leadership roles not because they can't lead, but because leadership exposes mistakes. Leaders don't get to hide. Leaders get judged. Leaders get questioned. So they stay quietly competent instead of visibly imperfect. With money, perfectionists don't invest because they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to learn through mistakes. They want a perfect strategy before they risk a single dollar. And while they wait to feel certain, someone else with less knowledge builds wealth through imperfect attempts. Now ask yourself honestly, which fear is driving you? Judgment? Failure? Exposure? Here's the truth most people avoid. You don't need to eliminate the fear. You need to act while it's present. Fear can't stop you from moving. Fear only stops you from starting. Once you start, discomfort becomes strength. Facing judgment builds resilience. Experiencing failure builds strategy. Being exposed builds authenticity. Smart people try to escape these emotions by waiting for perfection. But those emotions aren't meant to be avoided. They're meant to shape you. That uncomfortable moment when you share your first draft, that's confidence training. That awkward first try at something new, that's self-respect in action. That imperfect attempt that doesn't look impressive, that's where identity is built. Perfectionism tries to protect your identity from pain, but pain is what strengthens identity. So the solution isn't to be less ambitious, it's to redefine what emotional safety means. Safety doesn't come from avoiding action, it comes from trusting your ability to learn publicly. That's real power. Not performing perfectly, but showing up honestly. Not trying to impress the world, but growing in front of it. So here's a question for you. What would you do today if you weren't afraid to look like a beginner? Think of the answer. Do you feel the spark? That's the real you, the one perfectionism has been trying to protect from discomfort. But you don't need protection anymore. You need movement. In the next chapter, we'll break down why your brain chases perfection, how it becomes addictive, and how to retrain your mind for action instead of delay. For today, remember this. Perfectionism doesn't fear doing things wrong. It fears being seen becoming better. And becoming better is the whole point.
You don't procrastinate because you're lazy. You procrastinate because your brain is trying to protect you from feeling exposed. Chapter 3. Why Perfectionism Becomes Addictive. Perfectionism feels like a promise. A promise that if you wait a little longer, think a little deeper, plan a little more, you'll eventually reach a moment where everything feels easy, clear, and guaranteed. That moment never comes. But the hope of it keeps you waiting. That's the trap. The perfectionist brain doesn't chase excellence, it chases emotional certainty. It wants to act only when it feels 100% safe, validated, approved, and prepared. And that illusion of one day I'll feel ready becomes your drug. Let's break down why your brain gets addicted to perfectionism. When you delay action, you feel relief, not success, relief. That relief is emotional escape from uncertainty, judgment, or potential failure. It's temporary, but it feels comforting. And the brain loves comfort more than progress. So every time you avoid action, your brain rewards you with a small hit of safety. That reward trains you to stay stuck. Here's the cycle. You want to start. You imagine expectations. You feel pressure. You delay to avoid discomfort. You feel relief, and your brain tags that relief as success. The brain doesn't measure real progress, it measures emotional safety. And emotional safety feels good, so your brain keeps delaying. Now let's go deeper. Perfectionism gives you a false sense of control. If you never release your work, nobody can judge it. If you don't start, nobody can question your talent. If you never try, you never fail. You stay full of potential. And potential feels comfortable because it's pure in your mind. It's untouched, uncontaminated by reality. But potential is worthless without execution. There's a difference between being capable and being effective. Capable people think, effective people act. Smart perfectionists often live in potential, not progress. They say things like, I could do it, I'm just not ready yet. I know I'd succeed, I just want to do it right. I'm thinking about the best way to start. And the longer they stay in that mental comfort, the more painful it becomes to break it. That's the addiction. The comfort of potential feels easier than the humility of starting. Let me show you a real example. A talented young designer once spent years learning, planning, studying the market. Her friends launched mediocre work and got clients. She kept waiting for her perfect portfolio. When she finally launched it, she realized something painful. The market didn't care about perfection. It cared about consistency. She didn't lose to better artists. She lost to imperfect action. Perfectionism makes you lose to people who are less skilled but more willing to try. The same happens in business. Someone waits for the perfect idea while someone else launches 5 average ones. The one who launches learns. The one who thinks prepares. After a year, the learner is ahead. The thinker is still preparing. In relationships, someone might wait to be ready to approach someone they like. They study psychology, read books, improve their appearance. Meanwhile, another person simply tries, fails, learns, tries again, builds confidence. After months, the one who tried has connection. The one who waited has theories. In personal projects, someone wants to start a YouTube channel, podcast, business, or book. They wait until they have the right equipment, idea, editing skills, or confidence. Meanwhile, another person uploads imperfect work consistently, and the audience grows with them. Imperfect consistency beats perfect intention, every time. Here's the science behind it. The brain isn't wired to finish things, it's wired to avoid danger. And to your brain, emotional risk feels like danger. Criticism feels like danger. Uncertainty feels like danger. Being seen failing feels like danger. That's why perfectionism isn't a strategy problem, it's a nervous system problem. Your brain isn't trying to improve your work, it's trying to protect your identity. And until you understand this, you will keep mistaking avoidance for preparation. So how do you break the addiction? Not by forcing confidence, not by trying to feel ready, but by teaching your brain that action is safe. You retrain your mind by starting small, showing up consistently, and letting yourself fail in tiny doses. You don't build power by avoiding discomfort. You build power by surviving it. Imagine doing something poorly and realizing the world didn't end. Imagine trying publicly and discovering you can recover. Imagine being seen learning instead of being admired for waiting. That's emotional strength. That's where confidence comes from. You don't become ready. You become resilient. And after resilience comes mastery. So ask yourself, what small, imperfect action could you take today? Not tomorrow, not when you're confident. Today. Something so small your brain can't panic about it. That is how addiction breaks. Not by aiming for perfection, but by moving despite discomfort. In the next chapter, we'll learn how to rewire your identity from "I need to be flawless" to "I'm someone who improves in public." Because improvement in public is the ultimate escape from perfectionism and the fastest road to success.
Chapter 4. Kill the need to look perfect. Perfectionism isn't about high standards. It's about fear of exposure. It's the belief that if people see you struggle, fail, or learn slowly, they'll judge you and reject you. So you hide behind planning and waiting. You try to control how others see you by never letting them see you try. That's not high standards. That's fear disguised as ambition. Let's expose the core illusion of perfectionism. You think people respect perfect performance, but they don't. They respect visible growth. They respect those who try, adapt, and evolve openly. A person who improves in public becomes relatable, inspiring, and trustworthy. A person who hides until they're perfect becomes invisible. Perfectionism tries to make you admired without ever taking a risk. But admiration without authenticity creates emptiness. You don't want praise. You want proof that you matter. Proof comes from impact, not image. Let's go deeper. The need to look perfect comes from two hidden fears. 1. Fear of being ordinary. Smart people hate the idea of being average. They think if they try and fail, it means they're not special. So they wait for the perfect moment to prove their superiority. 2. Fear of losing identity. Intelligent people often build their identity around potential. Being talented, gifted, or promising feels great. But acting on that potential means risking its purity. Once you try, your talent is tested. That's terrifying. So you protect your identity by not acting. You enjoy being capable, but you never let the world measure you. The problem? If your identity depends on never being evaluated, you'll never grow. You'll be a prisoner of potential. Let me show this in a real example. A student in medical school was known as the genius. Teachers praised him. Students feared him in debates. Everyone expected him to become extraordinary. But he never volunteered for surgeries. He never led teams. He avoided complex practical work. He stayed in theory, where his identity remained safe. Years later, he graduated, but didn't stand out. Others who struggled in the beginning, asked basic questions, got corrected, failed publicly, ended up more skilled and confident. The genius stayed fragile because protecting his identity was more important than developing it. This happens everywhere. Someone has musical talent, but refuses to share drafts or unfinished songs. Someone has brilliant business ideas, but never launches anything. Someone is emotionally mature, but refuses to speak up in relationships because they want to seem effortless. Perfectionism protects an identity that never becomes real. Now let's go even deeper. You don't need to look perfect to lead, inspire, or succeed. In fact, perfection blocks connection. Think about the people you admire. Are they flawless? Or do you admire how they handle flaws? Consider an entrepreneur who openly shares mistakes and lessons. You trust them. Consider a creator who shows messy drafts in progress. You relate to them. Consider a leader who admits uncertainty, but keeps going anyway. You respect them more than the one who pretends to know everything. Perfection creates distance. Vulnerable execution creates loyalty. When you try to look perfect, you look fake. When you dare to grow publicly, you look human and strong. This is why you must kill the need to look perfect before you can ever reach greatness. If people see you fail, good. If people see you learn, even better. If people see you getting stronger over time, you become unforgettable. Let's talk about a practical transformation. Instead of asking, "How can I do this perfectly?" ask, "How can I do this consistently?" Instead of asking, "How can I avoid mistakes?" ask, "How can I recover quickly when I make them?" Instead of asking, "What will they think of me?" ask, "What skill will I gain by doing this?" These new questions build identity on action, not image. Let's make this real. Imagine you want to start a side business. Your perfectionist brain thinks, "I need a great brand, a perfect product, professional photos, and expertise." The action-based brain thinks, "I need one offer, one client, and one lesson." Imagine you want to get fit. The perfectionist thinks, "I need the ideal plan, trainer, supplements, time, and motivation." The action-based brain thinks, "I need to walk today." Imagine you want to speak confidently. The perfectionist thinks, "I should master tone, posture, structure, and delivery before I talk." The action-based brain thinks, "I need to speak once today, even if it's imperfect." Growth wants movement. Ego wants applause. Which one do you serve? Perfectionists think they're protecting their success by hiding. They're actually protecting their ego and sacrificing success. If you want to escape perfectionism, you must build an identity that values trying more than appearing talented. Identity rewrite begins with a simple belief. Showing up imperfectly is stronger than hiding perfectly. Let me ask you something. Would you rather be admired for imaginary potential or respected for real results? Would you rather stay untested or become unstoppable? Would you rather be praised as promising or remembered as effective? Your life changes when your answer changes. In the next chapter, we'll build the identity of a person who acts without waiting for confidence. You will learn how to show up before you feel ready and let confidence follow you instead of leading you. Because true power is built in action, not preparation.
You don't need confidence to act. You need action to build confidence. Chapter 5. Act before you feel ready. The biggest lie perfectionism whispers to intelligent people is this: wait until you're ready. Ready becomes the prison where your ambition waits, your potential sleeps, and your future gets delayed until it becomes regret. You don't wait to feel ready. You move, and readiness follows you like a shadow. Let's expose a truth most high-potential people never learn. Confidence is not a personality trait. It's evidence. When your brain sees you take action and survive discomfort, it gathers proof that you can handle more. That proof becomes confidence. You don't think your way into believing in yourself.
You earn it through action. The first action always feels uncomfortable. Your brain interprets discomfort as danger, but discomfort isn't danger. It's birth. Confidence isn't born in preparation. It's born in exposure. When a baby learns to walk, they don't wait to feel ready. They don't ask if people will judge their posture. They stand, they wobble, they fall, they rise, they try again. Confidence follows repetition, not perfection. Yet intelligent adults forget this truth. They try to become perfect before they begin. They want polished results before they take a single step. They want certainty without risk, control without experience, mastery without mistakes. That mindset kills potential. Let's go deeper. You can't think your way into learning a skill. You must practice it. You can't analyze your way into being strong. You must lift. You can't study your way into being charismatic. You must speak. You can't plan your way into being wealthy. You must build. Knowledge without movement becomes dead weight. The action you avoid becomes the confidence you never earn. Let's make it real. Imagine someone wants to start a YouTube channel. They spend months studying cameras, editing software, lighting, color theory, thumbnails, strategy. They never record a video. Another person uploads messy content for a month. Their videos look bad at first, but week after week they improve. Who becomes confident? The one who pressed record. Imagine someone wants to start investing. They research markets, read books, follow experts, obsess over risk. They never invest a cent. Another person starts with $20 and learns through mistakes. Who understands money faster? The one who acted. Intelligence without execution becomes insecurity. Execution builds intelligence. Want to become someone who acts without waiting for confidence? Build a habit of small, consistent exposure. Not big leaps that terrify your brain. Small steps that your nervous system can handle. Don't write a perfect book. Write one paragraph today. Don't master public speaking. Speak one sentence with intention today. Don't train like an athlete. Move your body for 10 minutes today. The size of the action doesn't matter. The direction does. Confidence comes from stacking small proofs. Every small action tells your brain, I can handle this. That message rewires your identity. You stop being someone who waits. You become someone who moves. And movement attracts opportunity. Let's look at a psychological shift you must make. Stop asking, how do I feel? And start asking, what's the next step? Feelings come from old habits. Action creates new ones. Don't negotiate with old habits. Lead them. Do you think great performers always feel confident before they begin? They don't. Athletes still feel nervous before competitions. Entrepreneurs feel scared before launching products. Speakers feel tension before walking on stage. Winners act with nerves, not without them. You don't eliminate fear before you start. You shrink it by doing what fear wants you to avoid. Action is how you prove fear wrong. Every time you act, fear weakens. Every time you wait, fear grows stronger. Avoidance feeds anxiety. Exposure dissolves it. Let me ask you something. What would happen if you lowered the bar of your first step? What if you allowed your first attempts to be bad? What if you saw early mistakes as necessary instead of embarrassing? Your brain would relax. Action would become natural. You would begin. And beginning is the true barrier. Not talent, not intelligence, not resources. Beginning. After the first step, everything becomes simpler. Your brain adapts. Effort becomes easier. Fear becomes smaller. Confidence expands. The person who starts imperfectly becomes unstoppable. The person who waits becomes invisible. So here's a challenge. For the next 24 hours, do one action you've been postponing. One message, one draft, one call, one idea executed at 10% quality. Don't improve it. Don't analyze it. Don't wait. Just do it. Let it be messy. Let it be small. Let it exist. Your brain doesn't need perfection to build confidence. It needs proof that you're someone who acts. In the next chapter, you'll discover how to build discipline without forcing motivation. You'll learn how to make progress automatic even when you feel nothing. Because action shouldn't depend on mood. True power begins when your habits move you, even on your worst days.
Chapter 6. Discipline for Imperfect Achievers. When you're a perfectionist, discipline feels impossible. Not because you're weak, but because you think discipline should feel good. You wait for motivation, inspiration, clarity, or confidence before you act. You think successful people feel ready more often than you do. They don't. They just act without needing the feeling first. They don't depend on mood, they depend on direction. Let's break a dangerous myth. Motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. Waiting for motivation is like waiting to feel thirsty before drinking water. You act first. Emotion follows. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't wake up excited to do it. You do it because it's who you are. That's discipline. Discipline makes action personal, not emotional. And discipline protects you from perfectionism because it turns difficult work into identity-based habits rather than mood-based decisions. The problem with intelligent people is they want to feel aligned, inspired, or passionate before they start. They want a spark. But the spark doesn't come. Not because they're unmotivated, but because their brain is trained to avoid discomfort. Perfectionists make discipline heavy. They make it moral. They treat it like a sign of worth or weakness. But discipline is not about self-punishment. It's about self-respect. You respect your future enough to act for it today. Let's go deeper. Real discipline is almost invisible. It's not intense. It's not dramatic. It doesn't require hype, energy, or constant reminders. Real discipline is small, consistent, and emotionless. It's doing the minimum daily action that keeps you moving forward. Not the perfect plan, not the ideal effort, not the maximum attempt, just something. Because something compounds. Something builds momentum. Something rewires identity. Extreme effort creates burnout. Minimal, consistent effort creates transformation. Smart achievers don't do a lot once. They do a little forever. That's how you beat perfectionism, by lowering the intensity and increasing the frequency. Let me give you a practical example. Someone wants to start working out. A perfectionist thinks, I need a 1-hour plan, the right gym, equipment, diet, schedule. They create a heavy system, they get overwhelmed, and quit. A disciplined person thinks, I will move for 10 minutes today. They don't negotiate, they don't justify, they don't wait. They keep the commitment tiny but consistent. After a week, 10 minutes turns into 15, then 20. Momentum builds naturally. Identity shifts effortlessly.
The perfectionist wants perfect intensity. The disciplined person wants permanent identity. Identity always wins. Now apply it to work. A perfectionist wants to create flawless projects. They wait for the best idea, they overthink, they delay. A disciplined person decides, I'll do 20 minutes of focused work today. Not inspired work, just focused work. And tomorrow too, and the next day. Small daily output becomes massive yearly results. Meanwhile, perfectionists wait for clarity and never accumulate. Discipline doesn't chase results. It builds identity. Identity produces results automatically. Let's apply it to skill building. Want to learn a language? Don't study for 2 hours once a month. Spend 5 minutes daily. Want to become a better communicator? Don't wait until you're confident. Speak once every day. Want to build wealth? Don't wait for perfect knowledge. Invest small amounts consistently. Discipline is the art of making progress impossible to avoid. When your habits are tiny, friction is low. And when friction is low, failure is nearly impossible. One more misconception needs to die. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to love the grind. Discipline is about removing negotiation. Successful people don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what's the next step? They don't argue with themselves. They don't negotiate their future with their mood. They act the same on good days and bad days. And because they act consistently regardless of emotion, they build a life emotion can't destroy. Now let me ask you something. What would your results look like if you no longer waited to feel motivated? What if you made a rule that your minimum effort is non-negotiable? What if today's identity mattered more than tomorrow's inspiration? What if consistency mattered more than intensity? Everything would change, and not through force, through simplicity. Discipline is not about pushing harder. It's about removing choice. You don't choose whether to brush your teeth. You don't choose whether to sleep. Make your growth habits the same, non-negotiable, automatic, small. Then expand when you're stronger. Discipline is like water. It shapes rock through time, not pressure. It transforms through persistence, not perfection. In the next chapter, you will learn how to detach your self-worth from your performance so failure stops feeling like identity damage. This is where perfectionism completely loses power, because once failure doesn't hurt your identity, nothing can stop you.
Chapter 7. Separate your worth from your results. Perfectionism thrives on one toxic belief. My performance is my value. If you do well, you feel worthy. If you fall short, you feel ashamed. Your identity rises and collapses depending on your output. That's why you fear mistakes so much. You don't think you're failing at a task, you think you're being judged as a person. This is where we break the cycle. Your worth is not earned through performance. Your worth is expressed through participation. Talent is a gift. Effort is character. Results are feedback. None of these define who you are. They reveal who you choose to become. When you attach your worth to outcomes, every decision becomes risky. Every action becomes heavy. Every failure becomes personal. You don't fear the task, you fear the judgment. You don't fear mistakes, you fear humiliation. Let's expose why this belief damages intelligent people the most. High-potential individuals grow up being praised for talent, potential, intelligence, or results. They get used to being the smart one, the promising one, the one with potential. Their identity becomes a performance jacket they can't take off. If they perform well, they stay admired. If they struggle, they fear losing admiration. So they avoid challenges, not because they're lazy, but because they don't want to lose the image that gives them value. They stay safe instead of growing. They stay theoretical instead of becoming experienced. They choose to look smart instead of becoming strong. When your worth depends on outcomes, you protect the image instead of building the person. Let's make this concrete with a real story. A woman known for her intelligence always excelled in school. She got praise for perfect grades, fast learning, and effortless performance. But once she entered the workforce, the game changed. Problems became complex. Mistakes were normal. Feedback was constant. She didn't know how to function without perfection. So she avoided leadership roles. She avoided visible projects. She kept choosing tasks she was already good at. She became average not because she lacked skill, but because her identity was too fragile to risk growth. Someone with less talent but more tolerance for failure passed her, got promoted, and learned faster. Ability isn't the differentiator. Identity is. Here's the truth high achievers need to hear. Failure isn't identity damage, it's data. It's feedback. It's calibration. It's education in disguise. When you fail, you're not being judged. You're being informed. You're learning where to adjust. Failure is not a mirror. It's a map. The moment you treat failure as information instead of evaluation, perfectionism loses all power. You begin to ask better questions. What is this teaching me? Instead of, what does this say about me? How can I improve? Instead of, where did I embarrass myself? What's the next step? Instead of, how do I hide? Your focus moves from reputation to growth, from image to identity, from fear to adaptability. So how do you detach your worth from your results? Start with 3 rewrites. Rewrite your goal. Your goal is not to perform perfectly. Your goal is to learn visibly. Growth matters more than image. Rewrite your identity. You're not someone who succeeds. You're someone who adapts. Adapters win in every environment. Rewrite your definition of failure. Failure is not rejection. Failure is instruction. The world isn't evaluating you, it's educating you. Now let's address something deeper. Many perfectionists don't fear failure itself. They fear being seen failing. They fear losing respect. But here is the paradox. People respect those who try, fail, and grow far more than those who hide behind careful image. Failure doesn't make you look weak. Hiding does. You become respected not by being perfect, but by being resilient. Think about the people you admire most. Are they admired for flawless wins, or for how they rose after their losses? Confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from recovery. Strength isn't built by winning. It's built by withstanding. When you fail and keep going, you build a reputation nobody can destroy. Not even failure itself. So let me ask you something directly. What project are you postponing because you fear what it would say about you if it didn't work? What skill have you avoided learning because you don't want to look like a beginner? What opportunity are you letting pass because you'd rather stay respected than risk being seen trying? These are the traps that kill potential. And the only cure is to change what failure means to you. From a verdict to a teacher. From humiliation to evolution. From exposure to empowerment. The day you detach who you are from what you produce is the day you become unstoppable. Because if failure no longer threatens your identity, nothing can control you. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to take imperfect action publicly without feeling exposed, and how to build a reputation based not on perfection, but on progress. That's the reputation of truly powerful people.
Chapter 8. Build a reputation on progress, not perfection. The world doesn't admire perfect people. It admires people who improve where others quit. The strongest reputation you can build is not being the best, it's being the one who keeps becoming better. Growth is magnetic because most people don't have the courage to show it. Everyone wants success. Few are willing to be seen on the way there. Perfectionists hide until they're polished. Powerful people show up while they're still learning. One path leads to invisibility. The other builds influence. Let's expose something most ambitious people misunderstand. You think people judge you when you try. They actually judge you when you don't. They don't say, look how messy their first attempt is. They say, at least they're doing something.
Meanwhile, those who do nothing become irrelevant. The moment you try publicly, you separate yourself from the silent majority. You enter a different league, not of experts, but of executors. And executors rise faster than thinkers. Let's make this real with an example. Two writers want to publish a book. The first one waits, plans, studies, tries to create a masterpiece no one can criticize. The second one writes publicly online every week. Their early work is imperfect, but they grow fast because they get feedback, learn, adapt, and publish consistently. After 2 years, who is respected? Not the silent genius polishing a hidden masterpiece, the one who showed up imperfectly, learned publicly, and improved visibly. Most people don't succeed because they want to be great. They fail because they refuse to be seen as beginners. Here's a truth that frees you from perfectionism forever. Nobody respects perfect beginnings. People respect visible evolution. If you post your first video and it's awkward, nobody cares. If your 10th video is better, people notice. If your 100th video is powerful, people admire you. They don't admire the result. They admire the journey they witnessed. When you hide your journey, you hide your greatness. When you reveal your journey, you create loyalty. People follow evolution, not image. So how do you build a reputation based on growth? You show your work. Not the polished version, the progress version, the version with effort and learning inside it. You don't wait to be confident. Confidence is built by others watching you get stronger. You don't wait to be perfect. Perfection is the reward for being willing to be imperfect long enough. You don't wait to be respected. Respect is earned by those who keep going through discomfort. Start building your reputation through your evolution. Let's make this actionable. Whatever you're building, don't hide it. Share the journey. If you're learning a skill, show improvement weekly. If you're building a business, share the process, not just the launch. If you're developing your voice, speak publicly in small doses. If you're working on yourself, share lessons, not quotes. You're not trying to impress. You're trying to document growth. Documentation builds authenticity. Authenticity builds trust. Trust builds influence, and influence builds results faster than talent or timing. Want a reputation that grows automatically? Become known as someone who tries consistently, improves visibly, and never hides where they are. That reputation outperforms talent, intelligence, and early success because it shows character. Let's go even deeper. Perfectionists think they need to protect their image. Growth-oriented people build credibility through vulnerability. Vulnerability doesn't mean sharing insecurities or sad stories. Vulnerability means not pretending. It means letting people see your current level while believing you're capable of more. It's not weakness, it's proof you're evolving. And evolution is the strongest evidence of potential. People follow leaders who grow in front of them, not those who pretend they've always been great. Leaders who grow publicly are trusted more because they make others believe improvement is possible. They don't intimidate, they inspire. And inspiration is more powerful than admiration. So ask yourself, are you trying to be admired or to be impactful? Admiration fades, impact compounds. Admiration feeds your ego, impact builds your legacy. You build legacy through evolution, not illusion. Now, one last question for you. If someone looked at your life today, could they see progress? Not results, not perfection, progress. If the answer is no, your next step is simple. Stop hiding your growth. Let people witness your journey. Let them see the chapters, not just the final scene. The more visible your evolution, the stronger your influence becomes. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to build environments, habits, and relationships that support imperfect action so you no longer fight alone against perfectionism. Because your surroundings can either entrap you or free you. And the right environment makes growth almost effortless.
Chapter 9. Build an environment that makes imperfection easier.
Growth is not just a personal decision. It's a social ecosystem. You act differently depending on who watches you, who supports you, and who silently hopes you stay the same. Most perfectionists don't realize that their environment reinforces their fear. They surround themselves with people who admire potential more than action, who respect perfection more than effort, who judge mistakes more than they celebrate growth. In the wrong environment, even small progress feels dangerous. In the right environment, even messy action feels natural. So the question isn't only how do I grow, but where can I grow without being punished for trying? Let's break this down. There are 3 types of environments that kill progress. First, admiration-based environments. These are people who like you for your potential, your image, your assumed intelligence. They praise you for being smart, talented, insightful before you've done anything. Their admiration becomes a cage. If you succeed, you risk changing their view of you. If you fail, you risk losing it. You end up performing for approval instead of acting for growth. Second, judgment-heavy environments. These are people who measure everything you do. They minimize your progress, highlight your mistakes, and overemphasize flaws. They don't want you to rise too fast. They want you to stay familiar. If you grow, their comfort is threatened. If you succeed, their excuses dissolve. You become a mirror that reflects their stagnation. Third, comfort-driven environments. These are people who encourage you to relax, slow down, wait for the right moment, avoid difficulties, and be patient without pressure. They call it balance, but it's complacency. They don't want to lose you to your ambitions. They want you safe, predictable, and convenient. Nothing big ever grows in comfort. Now let's talk about environments that free you. There are 3 kinds. 1. Action-based environments. These aren't filled with geniuses. They're filled with doers. They respect effort more than talent. They value trying more than planning. They admire consistency more than brilliance. Their culture normalizes imperfect output. 2. Feedback-rich environments. These people don't judge mistakes. They refine them. They don't laugh at bad drafts. They help you improve them. They don't ask you to be perfect. They ask you to get better. Feedback replaces fear with direction. 3. Identity-challenging environments. These are people who don't protect your comfort. They challenge your limits. They refuse to let you stay defined by who you were. They speak to who you could become. They don't flatter you. They sharpen you. Growth requires friction, not safety. Let's make this real. Think about the gym. If everyone around you is pushing hard, you push harder without thinking it. If everyone is lazy, you slow down without realizing it. The same happens in business, relationships, creativity, and communication. Your environment either amplifies or shrinks your standards. Growth doesn't happen through willpower alone. It happens through proximity. You rise to match the expectations of your surroundings. If your environment fears your ambition, you will hide it. If your environment celebrates your evolution, you'll want to evolve faster. So here's a challenge. Audit your environment. Ask yourself, who around me encourages effort, not performance? Who around me respects growth more than status? Who around me values reality over image? Keep them close. And another question, who makes me afraid to try? Who prefers me predictable? Who rewards me for being talented instead of becoming strong? Limit them, not with anger, with boundaries. Your ambition doesn't need permission, it needs protection. You don't need cheerleaders, you need witnesses of your evolution. People who don't need you to be perfect to respect you. People who don't fear your improvement. People who don't worship your potential. People who value your trajectory. Build a life where your growth is supported, not admired from a distance. Build relationships that challenge your excuses. Build habits that don't require motivation. Build environments that visualize your progress.
A perfectionist grows slowly alone. A learner grows rapidly with the right tribe. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to practice strategic imperfection, intentionally doing things poorly at first, so your brain learns to detach from image and attach to growth. That technique destroys perfectionism faster than anything else. And now, the journey ends where transformation becomes maintenance. Conclusion. Progress is your new identity. You now know the truth. Perfection doesn't make you superior. Evolution makes you unstoppable. Intelligence without action creates insecurity. Action without perfection creates power. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. Discipline isn't intensity. It's identity. Failure isn't humiliation. It's instruction. Growth isn't impressive. It's everyday and imperfect. And your worth is not earned through success. It's expressed through resilience. The world doesn't need your flawless image. It needs your visible evolution. Let them witness your learning. Let them see your drafts. Let them watch your rise. If they judge you, let them stay stuck. If they respect you, let them join you. Your life changes the moment you stop performing for admiration and start showing up for progress. Make this your rule. Imperfect today, improved tomorrow, unstoppable over time. That's how intelligent people finally escape perfectionism. That's how you build a life you're proud of. And if you want to continue this transformation, go watch How to Become Dangerously Confident audiobook. It will sharpen your voice, strengthen your identity, and help you build confidence faster than any perfect plan ever could. It's time to act. Not perfectly, relentlessly. The Millionaire Library.